Welcome to this brief R tutorial on loading data. I'm going to talk briefly about how to load CSV files and DTA files. Now, I've gone ahead and compiled two data sets on my desktop in a folder called R folder. So if I go ahead and open this up, you can see that one is the CSV file called cities and another is a DTA file called NFL. Now if I open cities, you can go ahead and see the beginning of the data set. So this is composed of three columns. We have some information about cities, what state they're in, and what their population was according to the 2011 census. Now if I'm interested in loading this data into R, I just need to go back to R, and first I need to make sure that my working directory matches the file that I'm interested in loading. So the first thing to do is to type this getwd command. Now when you execute this, you'll get to see what your current working directory is. Right now my working directory is my documents folder. Now it's easiest if you change your working directory to wherever your files are saved. So in order to do that, I'm going to say set wd and then type the file path for the folder where my data are saved. So that's C users mark desktop, and then that folder was called R folder. Now when I go ahead and execute this, we don't really see much of a change down here in the console, but if we go ahead and execute again this getwd command, we can see that my working directory has changed. Now that my working directory matches the file or the folder where the two files are located, I can type read.csv and then type in the name of the folder that I'm interested in loading. So here my file is called cities.csv. Now the one thing that I want to add as well is that my data has a header on it. Oops, I need to do this outside of the quotation marks. Header equals true. Now this specifies to R that the first row of data contains the names of the columns. So if I go ahead and execute this, R is going to spit back all of the data that I've loaded. Now this is a pretty big data set. It's about 750 or so entries. And so if I want to actually save that data as an object in R in order to do something with it, like look at summary statistics, I need to give it a name. So I'm going to call it dat and say dat equals and then the command for reading the data. So if I go ahead and execute this statement, at the upper right I can see that R has now saved this dat file into memory. And if I say head dat, for example, I can go ahead and look at the beginning of the data set. So that's how you load CSV files into R. Now loading DTA files is also pretty easy. The one complication is that we're going to need to load an external package in order to do this. And that package that we need is called foreign. So in order to do this, we say library foreign, and then we need to execute this command. Now, if you haven't already loaded that package, R is going to have some trouble with this step. If this is your first time loading this package, you need to type install.packages and then the name of the library, foreign. I'm not going to execute this statement because I've already loaded this library. Now, once the foreign library is loaded, we can just use the command dat2 equals, and this is just the bit where I specify that I want to save my data as an object, read.dta, and then again the name of the file. So in my case that's nfl.dta. So here when I execute this statement, I can see that my data is loaded into memory and is saved as this dat2 object. So if I wanted to look at the beginning of the data set, I could again type head dat2. And then when I execute this, I can see the first 6 rows of my data. So this is how you load CSV files and DTA files into R.